Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. Another great episode. In this particular episode, we have Reddington getting robbed, which I even love the fact is that Harold laughs about it. He's like, I'm think it's so fantastic you think this is funny, Harold. He's like, well, I think it's funny because it's just, the irony behind it. It's just like, you of all people getting robbed. Has he been robbed before, too? I mean, technically, I guess you could say everything he ever did, and what Kate did, was basically rob him blind, essentially, with her dismantling his organization. So it's not like it's the first time, but still, this is a slightly more funny situation. He was robbed by a guy named Abraham Stern, played by Nathan Lane. That kind of got me off guard. It's like, whoa. Because it's just one of those things where it's like certain actors, you're just like, whoa, like, I guess it's like the Paul Rubin, the actor who played, best known for playing Pee-wee. It's like him being in the show too. It's like that same level of thing. It's like, whoa, I don't know. It just caught me off guard. I was like, oh, holy crap, that's Nathan Lane. That's cool. But nevertheless, basically, this all deals with a set of pennies. I completely forgotten of that the penny was a whole thing that he stole from Grayson. I didn't even get that. Like, I was like, because they pointed it out, I was like, did they make a point of, like, I don't know, I guess because it's been such a little while, but I didn't remember that being what he stole from him. I started thinking, like, did they ever show what he stole from Grayson? I guess they did. I just don't remember. But it seems like this penny is in a collection of 4. All these pennies are basically part of, like, essentially there's some notes, essentially, like, that the Treasury pretends like they didn't make, but they actually exist, but they've been hiding the fact is that they exist. Essentially, someone stole them from the beginning. It's kind of like this great legacy that Abraham's father committed. And it's like, well, no one could ever prove that he did a crime, but he still kind of suffered the ramifications for it anyway. And basically, it's kind of interesting because Abraham kind of brings it up later on. His dad left him those 4 pennies in his will, but Abraham spent them because he didn't realize that they were anything special because the pennies had the roadmap to everything. I just thought that was so interesting. It's like you literally had pennies that were basically a roadmap to like great treasure and you just gave them away. And I think he was like, I forgot what it was. Fireballs exactly like is what he spent them on or something like that. And I thought like, that's so interesting. That in itself is a form of irony. And so basically he's been spending all this time, like these 40 plus years, trying to track down all the pennies to acquire the legacy that is essentially his legacy, So it's also brought up something interesting too. Well, one thing this episode brought up as a fact of the matter is of how much of a treasure nut that Reddington is. He loves the whole thought of like, oh, the mystery aspect and the whole like treasure hunting thing. It's like he really gets a kick out of it. He's almost like a kid in a candy store the way he's acting. And Harold's like, no, we're not going to help you with the whole treasure hunting thing. We're going to be after the blacklister. That's it. He's like, really, Harold? Come on, you're come on. What's your sense of adventure? And then Haram's kind of like, it sounds like it's kind of fun. And he's like, see, Harold, you should listen to your subordinates a little bit. Take their advice a little bit more. You see Haram kind of smiling, and Harold kind of looks in his direction. And his smile disappears. I'm like, it's so good. I do love the fact is that, the twist came. It's like, oh, he's going to betray you. It's like, I'm not too surprised. You can tell Nathan's betrayal was coming up from a mile away. But I do love the fact is that Reddington kind of got him back and ended up literally vacuuming the rest of the money away. And then he's like on the phone with Harold, oh my God, he's trying to steal, I don't know why he believes the money's there. It's like, what's that sound? It's like, having plumbing issues. But you get your man, Harold. You always do. I have faith in you. It's just like, I love you, Reddington. You're so like, I don't know, it seems like something out of like a comedy kind of like bank robbery type of situation. I do appreciate that they kind of did do kind of a bank heist, even though it's not really a bank heist, but I still appreciate the fact that they kind of went about it and they added it kind of like a funny, like, heisty type of movie or something like that. I also appreciate what Reddington really got out of all of this was besides the notes, basically he gave one of those pennies to someone to get a hat. All that. Giving away a penny that's worth like $3 million for a hat, a special hat too. It's Winston Churchill's hat, basically a hat he wore during the Blitz and everything. And it's just like, wow, that's impressive, but still, it's a hat. And it's like, well, Reddington doesn't always. I didn't even think about that. Like, I feel like a lot of this season he's been without a hat, and I guess I hope we get to see that Churchill hat like pop up a lot more. I guess that's supposed to be like kind of him kind of returning to his signature. I haven't even thought about that. Like, Has he not really had a hat on this entire season? I didn't even think about that. Maybe most of it. I don't know. It's something I'm thinking back in retrospect. I don't really remember not. So the fact that they made such a key point out of that, I thought it's kind of interesting. It's like, oh, be brutally honest. Like, what do you think? Wasn't expecting Liz to come in and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And he's like, I will take amazing. I really appreciate that. That was just kind of interesting. I guess it just shows you, it's one of those things to kind of show you where Reddington's taste lied. Like his sense of treasure was, what's important. Even something as simple as a hat like that. But the fact is, it mattered. It was Winston Churchill, and he used it. He was wearing the same cap when he was fighting off, the likes of Hitler and stuff during the Blitz. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. It adds like some majesticness to the whole the situation, making it more than just that, So. But that's just this side of the episode. What I appreciate about the other side of the episode, and it's something that actually came up between a conversation between Abraham and Reddington, because Abraham's like, my dad left me those pennies because he didn't want me to be a criminal. It's just because but it's like, in my strive to reclaim them, I've stole, I've lied, I've manipulated, and I've killed people to get those pennies back. It's like, so I basically followed in my father's footsteps anyway. And it's like, once again, more irony. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And in the exact same situation, we have Liz doing what she's doing, going deeper and deeper onto the dark side of things. Her cleaning up Navarro's place the way she did, disposing of his body the way she did with acid and everything. Like her way of handling things, I'm like, oh, that's very Kate-like. But then I'm like, because the file she was looking at earlier in the episode, when she was at essentially at the task force headquarters and everything, I'm trying to remember. Isn't that like a season 1 blacklister? The whole, like, the way that the bodies were disposed and everything? I could have sworn that's like a season 1 blacklister. It's been such a long time, I don't remember, but I think that was the case. The style, like who she was mimicking. Like I said, but she was kind of going about it, like, almost like, I guess you could see, like, no, Kate never disposed of bodies like that, did she? It seems specifically like I said, I remember there being a specific blacklister in the beginning who did that. Like, it could have been like just an earlier season, but I feel like specifically it was season 1, but I could be 100% wrong. It was also interesting too that she ended up leaving a rag behind with blood on it. I thought that was kind of interesting, especially because she already had like her moment in episode 9 of like, oh, I'm gonna clean this up. There was no trace, no FBI could find anything. But I guess because of this particular circumstance, it's like she got a little sloppy. She kind of had a rush in that particular situation. She had to rush as much. I'm sure she had time because no one was really out there looking. She was probably the one that maybe she anonymously tipped the FBI because it's like, well, how would the FBI know to come check out that cabin and stuff like that? So she must have tipped him off at that point in time. I didn't even think about that when I was watching the episode, but it's just the fact that she left that behind. I was like, oh, that was very amateurish, considering the fact that you're a cop. But that's the fact of the matter is, where you're a criminal or a cop, like in a situation like that, you're always going to slip up because, she cleaned the place up nice, but even Singleton, which kind of shows you he's actually a pretty good cop because he's like, yeah, this place is too damn clean. Something's a little suspicious about this. So he was like, hey, run this place through so we can see and find anything. So. But that's why I was kind of like, I can't believe she actually made a mistake like that. But then again, like, it's kind of supposed to represent the fact is, well, once again, no perfect crime. Plus, Liz isn't in her mind, the right mindset right now just because of what she's going through, seeking out for revenge. Plus, at the same time, it's like, she was kind of stressed because the cops got there a lot sooner than she was expecting just because there were noise complaints because they, heard a disturbance. So the neighbors called the police and everything. So. Did a very good job of cleaning up the place, disposing of the body, and there's a whole situation with Navarro's eye I thought was kind of interesting, like whatever that device is. I don't know whether it's some kind of recording. I don't know whether that's something he's holding for Ian or whoever Ian might be connected to, what that's all about. Maybe it recorded some stuff that they can be pulled off of it, like finding out the person's face or name. Like maybe it's always been like Navarro's like insurance policy. If anything ever goes sideways, he can use what he's recorded in his glass eye against people. We'll just have to wait and see. But this is bothering Reddington. I mean, not only because the fact is that Liz, manipulated him in this episode. It's like, oh, you came here to help me. No, you didn't even like, we as the audience knew it's like, well, she's using you as a distraction. Well, not really a distraction. Well, yes, because she knows if she didn't get Reddington kind of off her back, if she didn't help him, Reddington would probably try to track her down, try to keep an eye on what she's doing. Which Reddington already kept an eye on everything, like, wrestler was involved in with that whole like Henry Prescott situation with obviously real name Mitchell, but still like he kept an eye on that whole situation. So who's to say he doesn't have an eye on Liz? But it's probably because he made the promise to keep his distance and everything, even though she's back, still kind of like giving her space to mourn, or rather, she focused on revenge because he hopes she'll mourn, but he knows that she's just going to be so focused on revenge. He doesn't know, I'm sure, I'm sure that scares him because it's like he doesn't want her to go down that path. He doesn't want her to follow in his footsteps. He wants. Oh, I think on some level, it always made him happy that she wasn't like him. That she is a good person, and it's just. But now it's like he's in her life. She knows that you're her dad, and now she's kind of taking these bad habits after you. It's like the way she's going about things is the way that Reddington would, because when Reddington wants revenge, he rains down hell, and it's like he seems like Liz shares that with him, especially when it comes to the people that they care about. But I thought it was kind of interesting too, because it was almost a thought. Like I was like, huh, I guess we never, like, I let it slip my mind the whole like, oh yeah, we never found out who called ahead of time to warn about the whole like coin situation. And it turns out it was Liz. I was like, holy crap. I was like, almost completely forgot that was a thing. I was like, yeah, who did that? And it's like, oh, it was Liz, because she knew it would get locked up in evidence. And then she knows Reddington would call for her help to get that whole situation, because Harold's not going to help him with that, because it's like they're focused on the blacklist and they're not trying to help him get rich or get the coin back or do what he needed to do with that whole situation. So like I said, it impresses me more and more. Like Liz has kind of dabbled in that in the past, kind of going a little bit of the dark side, but like not to this extent. And like before, like we've never seen her, because this is like the first time she's ever been this hurt before. Like life has thrown her a lot of curveballs, but not to this extent. She's without her husband. Her daughter's going to grow up without her father and everything. So that's just a lot of weight to hold on to. And it's just like, all she has is her anger and sadness. And it's just like, she can't mourn for right now, because at this point in time, she's not really feeling much of anything except that anger and sadness. And she needs to do something with it. And that's get revenge and figure out this whole situation with Tom. Which, once again, like, what is Reddington going to do? Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to help you and everything, and it's like, you're kind of, once again, you're the lead reason. What are you going to do when the truth comes out? Are you going to try and get to this situation as soon as possible to ensure the fact is that Liz doesn't find out everything, including the body and all that stuff? Like, what does Reddington have planned for that? Also, what is he going to do with all that money? Like, they never really said expressly what he had planned with all those, notes that he acquired. Maybe for him it was more so the journey rather than the destination, which in this situation can also call BS, because it's like the destination landed him a crap ton of money, so which can also be sold off because of just how limited that particular resource of notes is, so especially because it's supposed to be something that doesn't exist. And now the Treasury can't go out of their way to be like, oh yeah, that's missing, because like, well, if they say it's missing, they have to admit that it's existed this entire time. But now the fact of the matter is they can't really admit that it's missing. It still stays out there like, oh, it's still out there. That the fact of the matter is Abraham's father committed the greatest crime, which now Reddington's also like kind of being a little, like getting a little full of himself, because it's like, oh, like I've created I've, one-upped his dad, Abraham's dad by committing a crime of the century myself, so. But I'm very interested to see how things go forward with this whole situation, because you could already tell Singleton is very suspicious of Liz, and now that evidence is going missing, I also appreciate that using Glenn as a means of like, as a distraction. And he's kind of excited about it. He's like, well, I'll go to the hospital and that'll be like the 4 seasons. It'll be, give me time away from mom and everything. And it's just like, Glenn, you're a trooper, Glenn. Even his whole fantasy think about him being with a nurse and everything. And Reddington said something in that note. And he's like, oh, no. Whatever it was. I don't really know what that he meant by it, but it's like, nah, he meant it as a compliment. It's like, sure thing, Glenn. Like I said, overall, a very good episode. I'm very interested to see, like, this all takes us, especially, like I said, Liz going further and further down the dark side, not wanting to work, still kind of avoiding the question. My voice just kind of gave up just there. I apologize about that. Because you had Haram being like, oh, you should come out to work, and she immediately dodges questions like, oh, what about you, and some more, so uh I guess you can also make the same argument. Obviously, she's running away from her pain because, like, it's just. I guess it's just because it's like that's not what I need right now. You guys think that's what I need, a distraction from searching for Tom's killer and everything. It's like, no, this is what I need, because anything else, I'm just not. It's not going to make me feel better, but it's not like this is going to make her feel better, because eventually it will catch up to her, as Reddington said, like in the beginning. After the show came back, it was like, hey, no matter what happens, you might not feel anything now, but you will eventually. At some point in time, you'll lose sleep over everything that's kind of going about, because she won't. Because what Liz has to deal with is, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you've got Agnes is with Scotty. So I think because of that, she's kind of let the darkness inside of her kind of like flow on through. But it's kind of like, at the end of the day, like, you're going to have to look back on this situation. You might have gotten revenge for Tom, but it's like, will you be able to look at yourself in the mirror? Will your associates, will your colleagues, the people that are like family to you, like in this situation, you're kind of going off on your own. Yes, you're getting Reddington's help, but I'm sure like your other colleagues are like, they understand what you want to do. It's actually kind of interesting because like Wrestler himself kind of talked about that situation of like, he never crossed that line. Like, even Reddington helped him not cross that line, but it's like Reddington's not helping Liz do it. Maybe it's just out of a sense of guilt about the whole situation of like, well, he wants to give Liz some kind of release in this whole unfortunate situation that took away the person that she loved, So I don't know, like I said, it's just kind of interesting when you think about it, because like, yeah, Wrestler, like Reddington was trying to stop Wrestler from doing that. He was like making sure just how far whether Wrestler had fallen too far or not. And it's like, oh, lo and behold, you have Liz doing this, but it's also because that's my daughter, and I can't really be as harsh on her as I want to, because like I understand the pain she's going through. Once again, he's a contributing factor and all that. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting when you sit there and think about it. So either way, I'm very interested to see what goes down in the next episode with all of this. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good